Statements made in presentations given at VMworld, which are not statements of historical fact, are forward-looking statements based upon current expectations. Actual results could differ materially from those projected in the forward-looking statements. Information regarding risk factors that could cause actual results to materially differ are contained in documents filed by VMware with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including reports that VMware may file with the SEC from time to time on periodic reports on Form 10Q and Form 10K and current reports on Form 8K. VMware disclaims any obligation to update any such forward-looking statements after the date of this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Herrod.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We have a very busy day today. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on in end-user computing, and you're going to see a number of demos. And then after that, you're going to have a very exciting contest between a bunch of our partners. So I definitely encourage you to stay around. Keep those mobile devices handy, too, because you'll be using them a little bit later this morning. So let's start by recapping what happened yesterday. I think it was a very deep discussion around what's happening around the infrastructure side of the world. We launched the vCloud Suite. We talked a lot about management tools, or more appropriately, automation tools, as the best way to deliver on the promise of the software-defined data center. And then we also talked about multi-cloud and how VMware is embracing the heterogeneity that exists in the infrastructure today. But I like talking about today as well because this really gets into how are we all going to access these applications that are running on servers, that might be running on our mobile phones, and certainly those that are running Windows. So this becomes something a little more personal that we're all dealing with every single day. And in fact, for those of you that were with us in Copenhagen last year, you're going to recognize quite a bit about this. We laid out a vision for what we were doing, but today we get to show you the fruits of the labors and really show what we're going to deliver this year to follow up on that promise. Now I'm going to step back just a little bit and re-recognize how we got to where we are today. And this is something we've been talking about for quite a while now, and many of you are familiar with. So in the past, it was very easy to think about the world as a desktop computer. And in fact, as we talked about, it really was a desktop computer. It lived on your desktop. The only place you would compute is on your desktop. But as I can even tell by looking out in the audience, everyone has seen that there are new devices that are out there that give you more productivity, They let you work from different places. They let you enjoy your personal life while you're working. So we can't keep about the same way of doing things where we have that desktop computer. And the days, in fact, where IT can simply dictate the only place and the only computing device you'll use is this one. So this is well understood, and it's typically referred to as the consumerization of IT, bring your own device, other terms you'll hear about as well. But I also think it's pretty interesting to think about how we've changed in terms of how we access applications as well. I've heard this referred to a little bit as the IT-ification of consumers. So we're all getting a little more used to things like app stores where we go out and can grab an application. Or many of us now know that we should actually be worried about viruses, and we should also be doing things like doing updates. So I think you can recognize that both sides have changed a little bit, and that opens the door for some new solutions around how we all compute every day. So from an IT perspective, this has really caused a lot of challenges. And again, let's think about how the world looked in the old days. If you just had one desktop computer, this became the place where you expected a specific user to log in. And this also became the place where you would put security and policy. It made it pretty easy if you knew that this person was always on this device and it was going to be on your LAN in a very safe way. But as we've gone forward, we've seen people going out and buying their own laptops, bringing in their devices, whether it be some sort of tablet or a phone. And IT's been struggling to keep up with that move. And they do so by getting a number of point solutions that try to satisfy or solve one of the problems that exist. This might be mobile device management. It might be some sort of secure access approach. But they're always playing catch-up in terms of letting these devices function somehow in the environment. And ultimately, it makes it very hard for IT to use all these different tools and make them communicate in an appropriate way. And ultimately, this leads to some sort of tension where you're asking your employees not to buy or bring these new devices in. And ultimately, that impedes the ability to get more productive and do the things that people want these devices for in the first place. So this is really where we've gotten to, and the problem obviously is compounding as more and more devices show up and as people are computing from different places. So again, a pretty well understood problem at this point. So we need a fundamentally different way of handling this, and we rolled this out in Copenhagen last year. We want to not only embrace, but actually really thrive with the heterogeneity that's going to be in place here, and stop the proliferation of point solutions. We need to recognize this is the new status quo. And the way we're going to do this is through three approaches and three technologies. The first is to take those existing applications, typically on some form of Windows, and make sure that they can be delivered in an easier way, in a way that recognizes the needs of security, of multiple devices, and of people that are roaming around the world more than ever. The second thing we'll talk about is how, once you have things in some centralized area, you can broker access to them. And in fact, you need a common broker to give people access to all of their applications and data from whatever device they happen to be on. And then last but not least is really thinking about how does the user experience change ultimately when we do have all these different devices accessing different types of applications and wanting access to all of their data as well. So I'm going to spend a little time going through each of these and showing demonstrations of each of them as well. So let's start about transforming legacy services so that they can be more manageable and can be more secure. And this is an area that a lot of people are quite familiar with right now. So we like to talk a little bit about new applications and new devices, and a lot of people talk about the post-PC era. But what I think we need to really recognize is that it's not about a post-PC era, it's about a multi-device era. We are going to be running Windows applications for a very long time on whatever version of Windows we happen to be having available and has the compatibility that we're after. And in fact, Gartner refers to a number of about 30% of companies and enterprises that have completed their migration to Windows 7, even as Windows 8 is up. So that means 70% of the companies are still looking at how they're going to migrate over to the last version of Windows. And that's because there's so many ties into it from an application standpoint and a management standpoint. So migration is a major focus of 2013 for many of you. And we want to make it more manageable, secure, and accessible as we're doing that transformation. So this is exactly what VDI has been about. It's around taking the desktop and taking it off the actual desktop computer, moving it into the data center, and then giving you access to it from all sorts of different devices on different networks. And this has actually been doing quite well. In May, we released something called View 5.1, which really was focused on making this a very easy solution for people to adopt. We made it very easy to manage. We put a lot of improvements into the acquisition cost, making it so that using a virtual desktop can be lower cost than using a very low-end physical desktop. And then very important for all of us that are actually using these, we focus quite a bit on usability. So we want the state where whether you're on a local area network with high speed or some sort of wide area network, We want you to have a great user experience with 3D and with gaming and with voice over IP and all of those different things. In fact, I saw a number of you in the hands-on lab being able to look at some of the 3D games as an example of how well we can do with remoting protocols right now. So that's what View 5.1's been about. And what we've been really thinking about over the last 6 months is how can we make this as easy to adopt as possible? So we launched something called the Rapid Desktop Program that is around creating appliances that are very simple, turnkey ways to get started with virtual desktops. The idea here is for us to work with partners to certify appliances that are really simple. You wheel them in, plug them in, and put in an AD information, Active Directory information, point them to the master image that you'd like people to have on their desktop, and then turn it on. And in many of these cases, you can go from 0 desktops to over 100 in just an hour. So again, this is about making it very easy to get started with these desktops and very easy to manage them along the way. We've seen some really great solutions around this as well. They've been taking a lot of different angles in terms of lowering the cost, increasing the performance, and even adding other functionality. So a couple of examples you can see on the floor are really amazing. You can go to a lot of the different Solutions Lounge booths, ask about the unique approach they're taking to these rapid desktops. Here in Europe, I'm happy to have IBM joining us for the first time in the Rapid Desktop program as well, so ask them about their solution. The other aspect about this is really looking into the cost of acquisition, as I mentioned. Most of the cost of moving to a virtual desktop infrastructure ends up being around storage. It can be more costly to use some sort of data center storage than it is to use a very low-end drive that you find on a lot of PCs. So the amount of work that's been going into doing deduplication, using flash, and using other approaches has really lowered the cost. In fact, you're going to see some white papers coming out that show the price of a virtual desktop at around $150. And that compares to just a couple of years where we were well over $1,000. So I definitely, again, encourage you to check this out. And I also like how people are looking at how they can combine other functionality into here. One thing I like is a great example from Cisco, where they've taken their integrated service router and added on some compute capabilities to make it really an interesting VDI appliance. And what's also interesting here is that they really focused on this being available for branch offices. They've taken the ability to deliver desktops, which would be on the LAN of the branch office, but they've also included some interesting networking capabilities, so firewalling is built right in, communication needs as well. And so I think this is where it becomes very interesting. How can I get a simple device I plug in and get 50 desktops and augment it with these other services along the way? So check that out also. It works really well. Now here's what's interesting though. We've really understood the View market now for a while, and we know that this works quite well for a number of use cases, especially remote users, very secure data environments. But almost every time you have a deep discussion about VDI solutions, people bring up two things. The first, they ask, what if I'm not on the network? If I'm on a plane or if I happen to be somewhere with a very poor network connection? And the other thing I get asked a lot is, well, I have this great hardware on my desktop or on my laptop. I'd like to be able to use the full power that I have in terms of the GPU or other capabilities that are there. And so if you've come to VMworld for a while, you've heard us talk about a number of different solutions for looking at this. We've talked about client hypervisors, a number of other approaches. But earlier this year, we found one that we really, really like. And this is through a company we acquired called Winova. And they have something called Mirage technology. And this takes a very different approach. It takes an image-focused approach to providing secure and managed Windows experiences. And there are a couple of core technologies in here I just want to call out. Core to this is really an understanding of how to break apart a Windows desktop into layers. You can separate out the hardware abstraction layer very easily, applications, users, the core operating system. And this in turn allows you to recompose it very easily as you want to push things out in different places. The other key technology after you've layered the Windows desktop into these different layers is some form of synchronization. So they've done quite a bit of work to make sure that once you deploy an application, you've actually pushed the entire image, in fact, out to a physical device. It stays in synchronization with the master image that you have in the data center. So you can imagine a lot of focus on how to deal with WAN latencies, a lot of focus on deduplication, so it can be quite in sync as you do this. So it's these two technologies that allow us to actually push a full Windows image out to devices. And because of the layering, we can actually push it out to different devices. And also, because it's synchronized, we always have a master copy that's managed in the middle. And as you'll see, that has a lot of solutions that follow from it. So as a result, we're able to get a lot of the things that you look for in a VDI solution, such as centralized management and some of the security that follows with that, with local execution. And as you'll see in a moment, a lot of solutions follow from that. One, for instance, is that you're constantly backed up, providing a form of disaster recovery for your desktops. Also, what's very interesting, especially now as people are looking at migration, this becomes a very easy way to do, in fact, in-place migration of Windows XP over to Windows 7. So we're very excited about the addition of the Mirage technology to the overall solution for end users as they transform their Windows services into something that's more managed. And if you combine the two, you get the best of both worlds in many ways. So as you know, on the VMware View side of things, you get very high security. You get a user that can move around and access it from anywhere. If you go to the Mirage side of technology, we can actually take advantage of the physical asset that you have in a laptop, and we can also allow you to work when you're offline. And overall, both of them, again, are providing a lot of the reasons that we want to move to a centralized management solution in the first place. So overall, you're going to see these combining, and it's very easy to talk about them on PowerPoint, but a lot of this looks a lot better when you see it live. And a number of you saw my good friend Vittorio last year. He presented a few things. He was working for Virtual Insurance, if you remember that. But I thought it'd be good to have him come out again and demonstrate what the combination of View and Mirage looks like. So please join me in welcoming Vittorio in a day of his life.
So I just got back from a vacation in Ibiza. What a beautiful place. I cannot stop looking at the pictures. Great place, great partying over there. But now I have to get ready for an important customer meeting today, so let me work on my presentation.
Hola, Vittorio.
Who is this?
This is IT, and it's time to migrate your laptop to Windows 7.
Oh, well, why? I've been using Windows XP for 10 years. It's so comfortable. I know my way around. Plus, I'm in the middle of a conversation. Oh, sorry, of a presentation.
Fear not, Vittorio. With the VMware Mirage solution, your user data and profile will remain intact, and all of your critical applications are already built into the Windows 7 image. You can even keep working while we do our magic. Using this simple wizard in the Mirage Management Console, I can select the Windows 7 image and assign it to the appropriate users. The in-place upgrade process starts in the background. Mirage will also take a snapshot of the XP image to revert back to in case something goes wrong.
Well, I guess I have to trust you on this one. I see that something's happening here in the background. Oops, what are you doing to my computer here? Oh, ooh, do you want to restart Windows? Have you guys ever got that feeling when Windows want to reboot on you? So I guess I'm gonna just click and wish me luck. Goodbye, Windows XP. Be a good friend. And here's Windows 7. Welcome to 2009. So Mirage updated my system, but hold on a second. This definitely looks like Windows 7, but I have my background here, and I still have my data. Is my presentation still there? Wow, that's fantastic. So you guys up there, wherever you are, you forklifted my data and my personalization and landed it on this new Windows 7 image. That's fantastic. So let me put my final touches on the presentation, and I can go to my customer meeting. There you go. Well, thank you very much.
Pretty cool. Yeah, let's see it. You all right?
Oh, my,
Here's your CPU. You might want to ask IT for a little help on this one.
Did I just do that in front of 8,000 people?
You did, 8,000 people.
This is the most embarrassing moment of a year after losing 0-4 to Spain in the soccer final cup.
Yeah, why don't you ask IT for a little help on this?
IT, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. What's up?
Something happened to my laptop.
The one we just upgraded? What happened?
It got stolen?
Well, that's too bad, but these things happen. Do you have a tablet with you?
Yeah, I do have my tablet with me. Here it is.
All right, you're in luck. Mirage keeps a centralized virtual copy of every device synchronized within the data center. With a few clicks, I'm going to migrate all of the content from your previous laptop to a virtual machine and load it into VMware View.
Okay, you guys have big brains up there, but that sounded like a lot of technical mambo jumbo to me. Can you explain it to me in a way that I, as a user, can understand it?
Of course. This means that you can use the View client on your Samsung Galaxy tablet to access your desktop that's running in the data center until your replacement laptop arrives.
Oh, cool. So I guess I just run the View client here. There you go, loading my desktop. Loading. Very good. And there it is. So I have my Windows 7 desktop somehow on my tablet with all my personalization and my data. I see my pictures are still there, so I can show off with my colleagues. Not that I do that. Oh, there they are. So I guess I'm really ready for my customer meeting now. Thank you so much, IT. So Steve, on the way back from my sales call, I decided to buy a Mac because it looks good on me, makes me feel a little younger. So I wonder if IT can make me productive on this one. Let's see if I can get the IT genie out of this laptop. IT?
The IT genie is here.
So IT, I decided to join the Bring Your Own Device program that you just rolled out, or as I call it, SYOM.
What's SYOM?
Spend your own money. Isn't that what it really means? Anyway, so I'm new to the Mac OS operating system. I'm wondering if you can help me be productive again.
Well, you're in luck again. We've used Mirage to migrate you from your temporary View VM that was running in the data center onto a Fusion Pro VM. This way, you can run your familiar Windows OS right there on your new MacBook Air.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I see my Mac OS here, and I see my familiar Windows 7 interface with my data, and my personalization is great. So let me get this straight. You guys took me from the past of Windows XP to Windows 7, then you made me mobile with my tablet, and then you landed the same very image on this MacBook Air. And throughout the process, you kept my data and you kept me productive. You guys really, really rock up there wherever you are, and thank you very much for coming through for me.
You're very welcome. But there's actually one more thing, Vittorio.
What is it?
Please be careful and watch your step so that your laptop doesn't get stolen again.
Thank you, IT. Thank you, Tom Nickel, for the Mirage team.
Thanks, Vittorio. Vittorio's usually very shy, so you can tell he's coming out of a shell all right here. I appreciate that. So again, just to recap, the combination of the VDI solution with the Mirage solution showed that you could do an in-place upgrade from Windows XP to Windows 7 in that particular case, keeping all of his settings and documents intact. We also showed a form of disaster recovery, if you will, which is he lost his laptop and was able to then access using VDI because the image had been moved in the data center into a VDI session because it had been centrally backed up. And he also showed how you can use VMware Fusion Pro to actually then bring this desktop locally to a Mac. So a really interesting way of looking at all the use cases together, and this is why we're quite excited about how these solutions fit together. So yesterday we showed something I thought was pretty fun, which was having Ravi come up on stage and show how he friended his servers. And on the side of things where we're looking at Windows, we also are thinking about new ways of approaching the problem, particularly around how tablets can be used to access these applications that are going to be around with us. So we have some really interesting thoughts going on. I thought I'd welcome up to stage Daniel Beveridge now to give a quick preview into some of the new ways of thinking about this as well. Daniel?
Thanks, Steve.
Morning.
One of the common uses for VDI today is the delivery of Windows applications down to non-Windows tablets. Now, no matter how good your graphics protocol is, using those point-and-click Windows applications on a gesture-oriented tablet can sometimes be a frustrating user experience. So we've been working hard at VMware to improve that. We've come up with a brand new strategy we're calling user interface virtualization. Now, this really is a new kind of virtualization. We're translating the way you used to do things on a PC to the way you want to do things on a tablet. We're calling this project AppShift because we're shifting important elements of the Windows experience directly down onto the tablet. Let's take a look at some of the capabilities. So one of the things we all do every day is open documents and applications. And here what we're seeing is actually translating those elements, giving you a new way to access recent documents, desktop items, and the traditional start menu, all from a nice, swipeable, tablet-friendly UI. This really makes you feel like you're using a tablet instead of a Windows far away. One of the other sort of tedious experiences we all have is selecting between running tasks in a Windows session. You've got about 10 things running. Sometimes you can't even see what the taskbar looks like anymore. Here we've translated that experience into an easy album cover flow style of navigation that you all probably are familiar with from using iTunes. You'll notice in the lower right-hand corner we have that nice tray that lets you minimize, maximize, and close applications, all without even having to do the point-and-click type of activities. And last but not least, the dreaded clipboard activities, those copy, cut, and paste activities that can really be a challenge when you're using remote Windows on a touchscreen device. We've used the UI virtualization strategy to give you a native text selection capability using local tablet-side widgets. This just really changes everything. It makes it so much more user-friendly. Here we're even able to demonstrate the transfer of contents from a remote Windows clipboard down to a local tablet-side application such as Evernote here. So now not only can you select the text, cut, copy, and paste, but you can move it seamlessly between your remote Windows session and your local tablet. This is just fantastic. This is a revolution in user experience. So that's a sneak peek of what we've been doing, Steve. And that's just a sample. We've got a lot of other innovations in the pipeline.
Yeah, in fact, this was shown for the first time, really a way to take existing Windows applications, not changing them whatsoever, but modifying the user experience with them. And I was talking to Daniel. I got my new version of iOS 6 and started playing with Siri nonstop. So throughout the challenge, maybe we could do something there. So why don't you show us what you've come up with?
We haven't been sitting on our laurels since VMworld USA. We've actually come up with an extension to AppShift I think you're going to like. We've actually integrated voice control and voice recognition, so you can use your voice with gestures to control the remote Windows experience. Let's take a look at that.
Open Chrome. Search for PDF. Select from Chrome.
So here you can see you can do a range of activities without even needing to use your hands, simply directly using your voice in combination with the AppShift technology. We think our users are going to absolutely love this technology, Steve.
Okay, thanks a lot, Daniel.
Thank you.
See you. Good. So that was just a quick look at a lot of the futures that we're working on right now, and I invite you to go to the Desktop Futures session that's coming up right after this. You'll see a lot more about what we're doing with AppShift as well as many other ideas here. So that was a look at how we're transforming the world of existing Windows and existing Windows applications. Now let's talk about one of the real challenges facing all of the enterprises today, which is really empowering the more mobile workforce. And again, these are where the next two stages of our strategy come in, being able to broker services from the middle and ultimately deliver a great experience for the multi-device workspace. So a couple things going on here. The first thing we need to recognize is that we certainly are using Windows applications, but there are a lot of other applications as well. They've all started popping up here, and these are certainly things like software as a service, Android applications, iOS applications. And the first thing we need to do is really find a way to bring all these applications into a common content approach, really provide a catalog where all of them can be treated consistently from an access and from a policy standpoint. The second thing we've talked about is on the data side of things. We have to get out of a world where the data is sitting out on a physical device, bring it to the middle, but then provide great access to it on whatever device we happen to be on. And then lastly, once you do this, you can begin to put a policy in the middle. You can put something there that's going to be the broker to all of your applications and all of your data. And you should also recognize that this is really the most important spot for you to be able to put authentication, other sorts of identity solutions and policy in place. It is now the central point where you can begin to have everyone going through it and really make sure that you're doing what you need to do here. So as you've heard about, this is our approach with Horizon. And over the last year, we've been delivering many components of the Horizon vision we unveiled in Copenhagen last year. We delivered something called Horizon App Manager, which added thin apps for the first time, allowing you to get access to packaged Windows applications. We also talked quite a bit and have had in a very broad beta something referred to called Project Octopus. This is really a way of providing file sync and share systems and the things we're becoming used to in terms of local access to our docs from whatever device we're on. But we really focused on adding a lot of enterprise capabilities to that. And so we've gotten a lot of great feedback on each of these individual capabilities we've rolled out. But as I talked about at the start, we don't want to roll out a hodgepodge of solutions. We really want to pull them all together. And that's what we're really excited to unveil and talk about, which is the new Horizon Suite. This is the first integrated platform for workforce mobility, and this is going to pull together the different solutions we've been talking about into a very easy-to-use suite, very easy to install. So this is going to be in beta by the end of the year, and I encourage you to see a lot of the breakout sessions and also go to the Solutions Exchange to talk about and see how this will work. Now, of course, we want to show you a little bit more here. The way to think about it is it does take all the applications of different types and move them into an app catalog that we're used to going to. It's not only going to give you access to individual applications, but it's also going to have access to a full desktop. And then lastly, this is the place where Project Octopus will show up. It'll actually be called Horizon Data. And it'll be a way to centrally manage, along with all the other things you're doing, access to those critical files that people have. So this is great for IT, but for any of these solutions really to take off, it has to be a better experience for me as a user. In fact, I've been using this at work, as many VMware employees have for a while now. And I really like that I have one workspace to think about where I can get to all of my applications. This is really something quite important, and I wanted to show you another demonstration that shows what a user experience would be like. And for the first time, we're actually going to unveil and show what it looks like to be accessing, as a user, this Horizon suite from an iPad. So here I'd like to welcome Ben to come out and show us what it looks like. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hi, Steve. How are you?
All right.
We're very excited to show this iPad experience. And so what we have here is a standard iPad with our Horizon app installed on it. So let's go ahead and fire that up. Now what we see here is what was Project Octopus, Horizon Data. This is the interface that a user would see. And they see all of their data that exists on their laptop has now been synchronized up into the system, and it's available to them. If they click on one of these, they get a really high fidelity view of it. And the viewer will allow them from this view to go and share that information. So with a single click, they'll have the option now to share it publicly. Let's flip over real quick and look at our second tab here, which is our Applications tab. So from this tab, I can see all the applications that have been entitled to me through Horizon, and we'll actually show how we do that in a second.
Okay.
But let's go and click on one of them. We'll click on Google Apps. And when we click on Google Apps, we get single sign-on, and we're brought right in. And we can see here I have an email that says I have a keynote to do today.
You do?
So make sure I do that. So now let's flip back really quick to the Horizon app. And then you'll notice a little plus button in the upper right-hand corner. That gives me access to my app catalog. And from my app catalog, I can see applications that are available to me that I can request. So let's add Socialcast. And we'll take a second, and then it arrives right inside of my interface, and I have the capability of running that now as well. Let's show one more tab that we have here. Let's click on My Computers. And here's where we actually see a View desktop that's been entitled to me. So I'll have the capability of launching that right from here.
Yeah, and I think this is the important part. We talked last year about something called App Blast, and actually got quite a bit of attention. If you remember, this is a way we were looking at delivering applications and desktops and other things using HTML5 primitives.
Yep.
And so what Ben's showing here is that you could actually deliver your desktop using either our traditional client or be able to take advantage of the pure HTML delivery.
Exactly.
And you'll see App Blast not as an actual product in its own right, but you'll see it showing up as a way to deliver desktops, applications, and other things as well.
Exactly, and this is where you'll see it first. So you have that browser option, and we also have the view option. In this case, we're going to click on the view option, which will give you really the highest fidelity experience. Now what you'll notice here is, once again, Horizon handles the single sign-on. So with a single click, the user is able to launch their view client, not prompted to authenticate again, and boom, they're right into Windows. Now what we'll also see is that we've single sign-on into the Horizon web client, and we see those same exact files we saw in the app, we now see in our view desktop as well. So there's consistency of experience for the end user. If we click over into the Applications tab, we'll see all of our applications from here as well. So there's wherever you go, whether you're in a web experience, whether you're on an iPad, you always get the same apps, the same data always available to you.
Okay, that's a great look at the user experience on an iPad. Again, trying to pull everything together for you in a very nice way. And as you saw, whether he was in Windows or in that native experience, we're making it very easy to use. Now again, the key thing about the Horizon Suite is that it provides great benefits for the user, but we also wanted to make life for IT a lot easier in this multi-device world. So now Ben's going to play the role of an IT administrator and show what the view of the world looks like from that side of the fence.
Great. So just like we showed that the end user had a single place to go to get all their apps and data, the IT administrator is going to have a single place to go to do everything they need to do to manage that end user experience. So let's show the Suite admin screen and show you what we have there. So I'm going to start off by logging in as administrator. And now we see a dashboard. In this dashboard, we see all the different services that an IT administrator can manage and kind of see the health of the system all in one place. Now, what's also important to know is that Horizon is going to ship as a vApp. So what that means is that from the installer, you have a choice of whether you want to install data, web application management, mobile management, view management, thin app management, and the appropriate virtual appliances will automatically be deployed in your vSphere environment. So really, the time to value for this should be extremely good. So let's go through and click in and show you how we manage a catalog. So as you mentioned before, in the past, we managed primarily web applications. Now the catalog has many more options. So we see the web applications that are available. We see for the first time mobile applications, so Android and iOS applications can be managed from here. We'll click on Thin Apps, and what we'll see there is Windows applications that we can now manage for the end user. And then the final tab here is Services. And Services is really exciting because this is really the extensibility of the product. We can bring almost anything in to be managed. And so you see Horizon Data, formerly Octopus, and then you also see published applications.
Yeah, this is really important. We want Horizon to be able to broker all sorts of services, certainly things that VMware delivers, but things that come from other places as well. So why don't you give us an example of the published applications, how that works?
So published applications are actually Citrix XenApp applications. We can now bring into Horizon, manage the entitlements to those applications right inside of our administrative console here, and then expose it inside of that same end user interface that we just showed. So the user can access a thin app right next to a XenApp. That easy.
Very cool. So this is, again, the way we're going to be the broker for all of your applications on whatever device you have. So why don't you show how some of the policies can take place once you're in here?
Great. So let's click into Horizon Data. And what we're going to see here is that our policies are very centered around what you're trying to manage. So here we see the identity-focused policies, so around group entitlement. Let's click into Class of Service, which is actually going to give us data-centric policies. So in this case, we're going to click into our executive group. And that's the group that's going to affect you. And we're going to give you a 2 gig quota.
2 gig, nice.
Yeah, well, we got to keep our, keep you in a box there. So the policies will allow us to do very data-centric things. So how much access you have, who you can share it with, how long you can share it with, even what applications you can open it with. So that's a lot of control. Let's save that policy. And we can see now that that's been done. So let's show you how easy it is for us to add another application to the catalog. So let's flip over to the catalog. Let's hit Add an Application. And we have a couple of options here. We see that we have a VMware curated global catalog. We also have the capability of getting apps from the Google Play or Apple App Store. So let's click into our global catalog. And let's pick Salesforce. And with a single click, Salesforce is now an option in my catalog. Now we got to make sure we assign that out. So we'll click into Salesforce. Once again, identity-focused management. We're going to pick a group. We're going to add a group entitlement. We're going to entitle it to all users. That easy. And now you can see we have a choice of deployment type. We have 2 choices there. One is user-activated. And user-activated really allows the user to go through and browse, like we showed before in the iPad demo, find the apps they want and add them. The great thing about this is that it's user-centric. They can add an app without having to bother IT administrators, i.e. you guys here. So we feel if you guys don't have to talk to people like Vittorio, things are really good. So let's use automatic in this case. And if we use automatic, that application will just show up right in the iPad or right inside of their interface. And just like that, with a couple clicks, we added Salesforce. A couple more clicks, we entitled it to all our users, and now it's available.
Okay, very nice. Hope that gives you a good view of what the administrator side of this new world looks like. Again, a central place. And we're going to have Ben show us one more thing in just a moment. I just want to call out what he said there is you could have a user generated where you actually go out and grab an application. The other option was a push. So as you saw in this particular case, the Salesforce application would just show up on users' destinations. This could be a very easy way for people to adopt the new applications that IT would like them to use. Now there's one other aspect about this, which is on the mobile phone side of things. And we really know that mobile phones are really arriving everywhere. And this is really ground zero for how you have the mix of your personal life with your work life. And I've been talking about a little while now how we've been able to virtualize Android phones and allow you to have 2 different personalities on that same device. We literally use a virtual machine that can fit on an Android-based handset, and you can install a separate phone for your work life from your home life. Everything that's in that container is different. But as you can imagine, as we're going out, a lot of people like this Android solution, and you're going to hear a lot more about it relatively soon. But we've had a lot of demand for supporting some other type of phone. And what do you think that is? That's right, Windows Phone. No, I'm just kidding. iPhones. So what we're talking about here is a solution that also works for iOS. And as you know, there are different approaches to app stores, different approaches around how you can do this. So we've had to invest in a different type of solution to deliver on top of this device. This is going to be a container that rather than wrap an entire virtual phone, it's focused on wrapping individual applications so that they can be managed and that they can have security policies around them. And I think there's a world that's very important that you can have for both of these. The most important thing is that that work real estate that's on your phone has policies that are enforced around it, and they can be central managed just like through Horizon Suite. But again, at one point it's going to be a little lighter weight where it's wrapping an individual application. In other, it's the entire experience that you'd like to have in place. So we expect both of these to thrive, and Horizon is going to be the place where we handle both of those. So just for a real quick preview of what we're doing on that side of things, Ben's going to show us it in action.
Great. So now we're going to show you a great example of a BYOD experience with an iPhone. So let's imagine that someone brings their new iPhone to work. And what we see here is that on an iPhone, you know, the app that's in a lot of cases is most important to the end user are their personal apps. And so, you know, there's an interesting dichotomy here, because for the employee, this tab here has their most important apps. We see their social networks, their games. This is what they think is most important on their phones. Probably different than what you guys think is most important on their phone. So let's click on one of those applications, their social network. And what happens here is we see the experience is very much like an end user would expect. Notice they haven't been prompted yet for a PIN. Users hate it when you force them to put a PIN to get to their social network. Now they click on it, they see what they need, and then they can operate like they want to. Let's go back into the iPhone, and if we swipe over here, we see the tab that you guys think is the most important thing on their phone, their work applications. And in this group of applications are managed by our product. So what you'll notice is a little badge on the icon. The badge shows us that these applications are in a container. That means these applications are secure. It means we're protecting these applications from anything else that may be installed on the device. So let's go and click on one of those applications, and we'll see what happens. This is the App Store. If you remember, before, we entitled the user for Salesforce, so when we click on the App Vault, we see the apps that are available to the end user. Now if we go over and click on the user's mail, oh, sorry. When we go and click on the app catalog, we chose Salesforce, and we can see now it's installed. We'll notice that once it's installed, we see the little badge that denotes that it's being managed by Horizon Mobile, and now we'll just move it over inside of our group so we can have all of our apps together. Now, if we open up our group again, we'll see the apps that are available to us. Let's go and click on our mail application. Now, you'll notice this is the first time that I've clicked on one of the applications that's managed by Horizon, and we can see that I'm prompted to authenticate. So now I put in my PIN code, and I'm brought in. Now I see my mail, and we'll see here there's a mail that was sent to me that has the corporate strategy. So let's click on that. You'll notice it was open before from my desktop. So I opened this on my desktop, and I read it, and it says that the document that was attached was secure, and I shouldn't share it outside of the corporation. And of course, I'm going to follow that policy, right? So when I saved it on my desktop, I saved it into Horizon Data. Mm-hmm. Horizon Data will now make that available here on my mobile device. So we see corp strategy. So let's click on that corp strategy document, and we see it. And so like any good employee, you know, I want to make sure that I keep this for later, even though I was told not to. And I'm going to select it and copy it. I'm going to paste it somewhere where I think I'll use it later. The problem is the place I think I'm going to use it later is outside of corporate control, and that's really something I shouldn't do. So now if I start Evernote and try to paste it into here, we'll see what happens. Horizon Mobile won't let them do it. So even though I forgot what the corporate policy was, Horizon Mobile didn't. And as a result, I'm not able to have any data leakage here. Even though it may not have been my intent to do that, Horizon Mobile stopped it from happening.
Okay, very cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So I hope those demonstrations really give you a flavor for what we're trying to do here with Horizon. And again, I think it's very important to think about it as a holistic solution. The new Horizon Suite is unique also in that very few solutions make both users happier and IT happier. But as you saw here, users are getting a consistent access to their apps and data. They can make sure that they have their personal life separate from their business life, and they can use multiple device types along the way. And on the IT side of things, which is really challenging with this multi-device world, they get rid of a hodgepodge of different solutions and can think of one integrated tool for managing policies and giving access to all these corporate resources. Ultimately, they're getting centralized management and helping them be able to say yes more to devices that are coming in that make employees more productive and enjoy their work a little bit more. So that is the new suite, and there's a whole lot more to learn about this. Again, there's a nice vision section coming up next. I invite you again to go to our Solutions Exchange booth, as well as a number of breakout sessions coming around this. So that pulls things together. Again, today what we showed you is how VMware View and Winova can come together with Mirage to provide a great way to transform your Windows applications. And then we also showed the new Horizon suite. And I think if you actually compare what we did this morning to yesterday, you see two key themes that are very important to what we do now. The first is providing suites of tools rather than a lot of independent solutions. We've got a lot of feedback from people that they don't want more tools out there. They want them pulled together. And on both days, you also saw the embrace of heterogeneity. It is the way of life now, whether it's in a multi-cloud world or whether it's in a multi-device world. So in both these cases, we're trying to help IT have a fighting chance for dealing with heterogeneity and deliver the transformation for their business that they're after. So that wraps up the technical session of this morning, but we have something else very exciting to go on to right now. And if you remember yesterday, Pat talked about the presence of partners here and how they're really delivering a lot of these changes with us. And I think that's quite exciting. And so we're going to try something new here today, which is for the first time a contest between all of our Diamond sponsors. So we're going to shift right into this, and I'll alert you to have your mobile devices out so that you can participate along the way. So what we've done here is we've taken our Diamond sponsors, and each of them were given a very strict time limit. They have 4 minutes to talk about a very interesting integration they've done either with the VMware vSphere and vCloud Suite side of things or with some of the solutions that you've seen this morning. And what you're going to do here is watch each of these. You're going to use your mobile device to vote for the one that's your favorite. And each of the partners has also selected a charity that they care a lot about. And at the end, whoever gets the vote as the most enjoyable demo, VMware is going to donate $10,000 to that charity of their choice. So I think it's going to be quite exciting. So we did this in completely random order so as not to bias your votes. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into our first partner. We're going to see a quick video by EMC, and then we're going to have a friend join us on stage. All right, please join me in welcoming Chad Sakich, Senior VP of Global Systems Engineering at EMC. Hey, Chad, how are you?
Awesome, Steve, awesome.
All right. Try seeing Chad and Vittorio in the same room, by the way. It's quite an event. So what are you going to show us here today?
This is an absolutely face-melting technology preview. After we saw you talking about vVols yesterday, we wanted to show how we could radically simplify the way things work today and also deliver incredible, unique capabilities tomorrow.
Okay, and what charity are you playing for?
The Fundación Síndrome de Down de Madrid. It's a great charity that helps families here in Spain who have got children with Down syndrome.
Okay, great. You have 4 minutes, so wow us.
Excellent. Okay, so today we've got customers using vPlex. This is vPlex Metro that you can see up on the screen to create stretched vSphere clusters. This enables them to do incredible things, and Sanofi Adventis and many, many customers across EMEA are using this to create a simple way to do disaster avoidance, doing vMotion across hundreds of kilometers, and being able to use VMHA and host affinity groups to create a simple DR solution and also be able to integrate it with SRM. But what we're showing here is how we can use this technology, a technology preview from future vSphere releases, and I've had to blur out the builds. This is hot off the engineering presses, to make it so that there's no more data stores. So even though it looks like I'm creating a virtual machine that's fitting into a data store, there is no LUN, there is no file system here. What's going on is that when you create the virtual machine, it creates something called a vVol, a virtual volume. The virtual volume is a logical construct, and this radically simplifies this idea of stretch clustering. Because now what we can do is that when we create that, and you'll see here in the UI, that without me needing to do anything, individual virtual volumes were created just for that VM. vVol makes the VM the unit of storage policy, and that's all been done automatically. As soon as we created that VM, we've now started to synchronously replicate the data between the two sites, which means that we can immediately start to vMotion and VMHA between the two sites. So as I create a Linux VM here, and we actually launch a video inside the VM, and what we picked as the video is another great example of technology that we're shipping today using VAI for NFS to accelerate View 5.1 deployments. Really, really cool stuff. But here it's just showing, hey, there's a workload running inside the VM, and we're going to vMotion it between data centers. Now again, this is a technology that people are using today, and there's lots and lots of integration that's available in vSphere 5.1, vPlex, Metro today, which is great. But what's different here is that there's no LUN. We are vMotioning that VM, and just the underlying vVol is being replicated, which means dramatic simplification and dramatic increased efficiency, right? Instead of doing it at a LUN level, we're doing everything just at the VM unit of granularity, right? And here we're non-disruptively moving this VM, and customers are using this to avoid any sort of disaster that they can see coming. They can take data center downtime with no downtime. And again, tons and tons of integrations that are already actually GA that VMware and EMC collaborated on to drive into VMHA improvements, the vSphere Metro stretched use cases. But this is now vPlex Geo over potentially thousands of kilometers, asynchronously. This is GA from EMC today, but it's not supported in VMware use cases because when you do a vMotion, all the data needs to be guaranteed in one place or the other. What we're doing here with vVols is incredibly unique. We're able to, when we do this vMotion that I'm doing now, which could be between San Francisco and Barcelona, right, in huge distances, to ensure that the VM is totally consistent, even though it's asynchronous, we're able to downshift from asynchronous mode to synchronous mode just for the vVol. This is an important idea. When storage policy moves from being done at the data store level, the data stores disappear and it moves to the vVol level, you can do things that fundamentally were not possible before. Not just simpler, not just more efficient, but radically better. So here what we're doing is we're vMotioning a VM across thousands of kilometers, which we've demonstrated before, but even if there was a partition between the sites, you would have guaranteed data fidelity because we've downshifted into a synchronous mode. And here you can see that the vMotion completes. It's again totally non-disruptive, and this gives you just a peek into what VMware and EMC are working on in the future. So think of it this way. Incredible integration today, not just across vPlex, but everything that EMC does, but also incredible radical simplification tomorrow and incredible new capabilities. Love vVols. Vote EMC in the Diamond Sponsor Hunger Games.
All right, thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, take out your mobile devices. Each partner has a polling question for you to kind of get a little feedback on the demo that they just did. So let's go ahead and raise the question here. And again, you can vote your answer here. What is the distance between your data centers? If you have multiple data centers on the same campus, within the same city, or across countries? And I think we get relatively instant feedback.
I'm very, very curious. You know, working across the globe with tons of customers, look at that. So this will dramatically help customers that have got data centers across different cities and radically new capabilities that are really unique. You gotta love it.
Okay, thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, you get the flow for it now. So now, very happy to welcome our next very strong partner to the stage, which is Cisco. And let's start with a quick video as well, please. Please join me in welcoming Rob Boyd and Jimmy Ray Purser to stage. They're from TechWise TV. Wow. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, what are you going to show us today?
Well,
morning.
Hey, you guys have this huge focus on mobility. I thought we'd talk, we're Cisco. We thought we'd talk a little bit about how the networking can really aid a lot of that stuff and kind of get out of the way and help it along.
Okay, good. And what charity are you playing for?
We are playing for the World Food Program, basically a Cisco program. It's done combating hunger using some of the tools that we can offer uniquely in that space. Been doing that for a number of years now.
Okay, great. Great cause, and good luck with your demo.
Thank you very much, Steve. All right. Well, guys, what I want to talk to you about is how the network can enable workload mobility for your data center by solving something we call the routing scalability problem. You see, the challenge that we have right now is we've got all these mobile virtual machines. We've got a lot of mobile stuff. We've got one way to represent it, right? We've got an IP address. And that singular IP address has to really do two critical things: address both location and identification. And the challenge becomes, how can we truly enable mobility with such an inflexible network? Well, we can't. But we do have an answer, and it's called Lisp. It's Location ID Separation Protocol. And what it does is it literally allows these two things to operate independently throughout the entire network, and it's so much easier than you would ever think. In fact, we invited some Cisco engineers into our labs, and we said, let's show them how it works. So in this data center, we've got two data centers in this Lisp-enabled network, two ways to enter the network: 3G or Wi-Fi. As we turn on Wi-Fi on this Android phone, we've got Lisp mobile node running. It connects to the network, and we can see that we pick up an address with a .130 extension. Makes complete sense. But notice as we look at the router side, we've got the 130 for ID, but we've got the 101 for location. Now as we switch back over, we turn off Wi-Fi, forces 3G to pick up, the video keeps flowing, all that is good, but look back at the router side again, and you can see that we've preserved that ID. We've got the 130, but now we've got a different location because we're coming in through a different route. Now how about on the host side? What if we vMotion an entire virtual machine from data center 2 to data center 1 while streaming a video? Okay, we do that with VMware, of course. We do the little vMotion magic. That's picked up with a Lisp map cache server. And then once again, we see on the router side, we've got an ID of .71, but we've got a location that is now changed to 181. Meanwhile, the video keeps playing, and the user is never aware. That is mobility enabled by the network.
Yeah, that's a really good point, but it sounds kind of networking-y, right? I mean, I know we're not talking to a bunch of plumbers out here. We're talking to data center engineers like myself who are looking to design their networks that are transparent, that actually will move around and are built really for that mobility that makes it so simple for our users to find and access resources. So let me show you real quick from a data center side what's important to understand about Lisp, because a lot of times it gets wrote off as a very networking-y type technology. Now, like I said before, the most important thing in anything is that we keep all our access transparent for our users, for our customers, because this is what they want to do. They're not going to go out and change or refresh or even look at certificate status. We got to make it seamless for them. Lisp detects all these VMs moving in the cloud, right? Because our VMs don't belong to the hardware anymore. They're all decoupled. They belong to the cloud, whether that's a layer 2, layer 3, cloud bursting model, no matter what we have, our VMs are very, very mobile. Now, that detection comes from what we call a tunnel router. Now in this case it's a Nexus 7000, and that tunnel router detects this movement. As it detects the movement, it then updates what we call a mapping server. Now the mapping server actually takes place of what a traditional DNS server would, right? But the big difference is it's not DNS. We don't have to have any magic, or we don't have to have any session timeouts or anything like that. As we are moving these machines around, it's all dynamic, and we don't have to use load balancers or play any games or anything like that. This works seamlessly and it works automatically. What you need to know and what you need to tell your networking folks, because they're going to resist it, trust me, that's just kind of how it is. Your networking folks need to know that they don't have to use a lot of overlapping VLANs, do policy-based routing, make these big, massive, complex configurations to support your needs. So that's really the nutshell of Lisp. Come to our booth, check it out, and please, most importantly, don't forget World Food Program. That's a fantastic charity. We thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Steve?
Wow. Nice. Great job, right on time.
Thanks, man.
So again, we have a polling question. This one tests whether they were listening very attentively. So let's go ahead and raise a question here. Which of the following options includes the 3 important things to understand and remember? Hardware identity and software, EID, RLock, and location, Cisco, VMware, and TechWise TV, or D, all of the above. Sometimes that's a hint, I find. All right, let's see where the results come in.
Hey, all right, man.
A lot smarter crowd than San Francisco.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
A lot better looking crowd, too.
Pandering will not help your vote. But thank you. All right, thanks, guys.
Well,
Wait for
money,
the time again. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.
Appreciate
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, we're moving along quickly. We have 3 more demos as part of the contest. Next up, we have NetApp. Let's see a quick video and welcome our presenter. All right, please join me in welcoming Brendan Howe, VP of Product and Solutions Marketing at NetApp. Good morning, Steve. Hey, Brendan. How are you? How are you? Good seeing you. Good to see you again. And I know this is a particularly exciting time for NetApp. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening?
It is. We've had two great accomplishments. We made the Fortune 500 for the first time in our history. And we were also able to thank the audience here for being a big, big part of that. And we recently celebrated our birthday, 20th anniversary of NetApp.
Outstanding.
Thanks very much to everyone in the audience that's had such a big participation in that, our success. Thank you.
I've been a good partner all the way.
Absolutely.
What charity are you going to be playing for today?
Right to Play. It's a global organization that helps challenge kids learn through play and sport.
Okay, great.
Great.
Well, thanks. Look forward to your demo.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let me start by introducing our customer, Peak Colo. They're a service provider based in the United States. This is Luke Norris, their CEO, and this is Eric, who will actually be driving the demo today. I'll give you a little bit of background on their architecture to help you understand the demo. They provide cloud services to their customers. They virtualize apps, run it over physical infrastructure, and manage the whole stack through vCloud Director. This is actually a single service pod, but they actually have many. They provision thousands of virtual apps ongoing. In order to manage that scale, they consolidate and share the network infrastructure and the storage, and that's an important point. For the storage, they use NetApp, which allows them to provision virtual storage systems, or what they call vSANs, in order to provide a dynamic allocation model out of the shared pool. We'll go to the first demo here. We'll have Eric provision a virtual SAN. It's fast and it's simple. Now, normally this would probably take a weekend. You'd have to dedicate equipment, rack and pull cables, allocate capacity. I'm assuming most of you in the audience would rather spend your weekend the way you did 2 weeks ago, watching Europe win the Ryder Cup. Yep? Yeah. Okay, well, here's how you do that. Eric provisions a single command to Data ONTAP to provision a vSAN. It takes about 10 seconds. Now, notice we're demoing a command line. I know in past, users revolted at VMware taking away command mode. So in that spirit, we thought we'd bring command line back. But fear not, we have a GUI too, and here's a few screens to show that configuration as part of the process. What you're seeing here is the storage version of the software-defined data center. You could think of Data ONTAP doing for storage what VMware does for servers. In the next demonstration, Eric's going to solve a performance challenge by transparently migrating an application to a faster system. The important point to note here is what you're not going to see as part of the demo. So here's some application performance in real time, and you'll notice some degradation in performance, those 5 millisecond spikes that are up on the screen. Not fast enough, customer wants more, and they're willing to pay for it. Eric's going to issue a command to transparently migrate the application to a faster system enabled by flash technology and caching. Now, what you're not seeing here as the time goes on is any client-side changes or VMware or application changes. No need to use vMotion even, no application disruption. And if you look at the lower right, you'll see the results. Latency is near zero, application's much faster, customers happy. Here's a picture of how that works. Data ONTAP provides the ability to migrate an application from one portion of a cluster to another while continuing to serve application I/O. This works on top of NAS, it works on top of SAN, and it supports emerging technologies like the up-and-coming VMware vVol when that becomes available. The net effect of this is what we call the agile data infrastructure. In this last demonstration, we're going to show the effects, the gain back of the use of deduplication. And you heard that correctly, a storage company is going to demonstrate a feature that allows you to buy less storage. Here's a listing of their volumes. They have extensive use of deduplication. We'll drill into a few of them to see the gain back. In one case, 66% gain back on utilization. In a second case, 62% utilization. This is really important because it allows them to either buy less storage or pass that saving on to their customer for better margin or even provision for a different application. So in summary, NetApp and VMware products are a great match. NetApp and VMware as a partnership is a great partnership. I'd encourage all of you to come by the booth to learn more. Thank you for the time, and help us celebrate our birthday and vote for NetApp. Thank you.
Great job, Brendan. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
I heard you say buy less storage. That was interesting to hear.
Indeed.
Okay, let's see what your polling question is today. So which of the following features highlighted in the demo is most exciting or interesting to you? We had the command line. A lot of people like that.
Yep.
10.25-second vSAN create.
Given that I mentioned Ryder Cup, that could be a favorite.
Okay, non-disruptive data migration.
Always top of mind with customers.
Agile data infrastructure. And storage efficiency and deduplication.
Right.
Let's see how the votes come in here.
Non-disruptive data migration wins every time.
Does it? Okay. All right, thanks a lot for your
Thank you,
demo.
Steve.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 exciting demos left. Next up is HP, a longtime partner of VMware. And let's start with a quick video. Please join me in welcoming Nigel Cook, Technology Director and Strategist.
Hey, Steve.
Hey.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. Nigel, we're often out on the same customer visits. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're hearing out there?
You know, I was talking to a financial services customer of ours just recently. I was talking to them about HP Cloud System and how we automate the setup of the network, server, and storage infrastructure for VMware vCloud Director virtual data centers. The customer got super excited. He says to me 2 things. Number one, all this automation is going to make IT more responsive and agile, which is a great thing. But the second thing, and that might be even more important, is that the automation is going to make the use of the infrastructure in the data center more consistent, and that's going to help with compliance and with audit.
Okay,
I'm going to demonstrate that to you today.
No, sounds good. And which charity are you playing for?
We're playing for Red Cross. I mean, it's an organization everyone knows, helps people worldwide. The only requirement is you have needs, and they're there.
Very good cause. Okay, you have 4 minutes for your demo.
All right,
Take it
well,
from
thank
there.
you very much. I'd like to show you here HP Cloud System Admin Console. HP Cloud System is HP's tool to let you design and manage your hybrid cloud infrastructure. And what we see here is a set of best practice templates. And these templates are what drive the automation of Cloud System managing your network, server, and storage infrastructure. And what we're going to do is take a look at one of these templates, a template that can be used to create a virtual data center in vCloud Director for a finance organization. All the infrastructure needs for that virtual data center are in this template. The VLANs, the full service for an ESX cluster, the storage volumes, they're all defined and described in this template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a brand new virtual data center using Cloud System. I'm going to call that virtual data center finance. I'm going to set up the seed for the host names of the new ESX cluster that we're going to automatically provision. And now Cloud System's going to do all the hard work. It's going to allocate some VLANs, it's going to allocate some blades, it's going to carve the storage volumes, connect them all together, load the ESX software, get it all up and running, and then push all those configuration details into vCloud Director. And so as we go into the vCloud Director console, we can see there's a brand new virtual data center called Finance that's been created. And as we drill in, we can see there's a brand new 4-server ESX cluster that's been set up and automatically configured into vCloud Director. And then those storage volumes are now data stores inside vCloud Director. Operations that could take hours if you did it manually were reduced down to just a few clicks, saving you, letting you create these up to 2.5 times faster. But how often do you create a new virtual data center? Maybe you've just got an existing virtual data center you need to scale because your workloads have increased. I'm going to show you a new capability called Auto Flex that allows you to scale your existing virtual data centers, again, with just a few clicks. What we're going to do in the Cloud System console is go to the Lifecycle menu, and I'm going to select the Add Servers operation. And we're going to apply that to this vCloud environment we just set up. And I'm going to set the new cluster size here to be 6 servers. And now Cloud System's going to do all the hard work again. It's going to allocate 2 additional blades. It's going to connect that into the existing ESX cluster, the networking and the storage, load the ESX software, push all that configuration information into vCloud Director, and there we've scaled the virtual data center with just 5 clicks. And in a way that's consistent, reliable, and error-free. Now, one more use case I'd like to talk to you about. What if that template that was used to create that virtual data center doesn't meet your needs? Well, just edit it. In Cloud System, we have a drag and drop designer, and if you wanted to change the design, for example, add more storage into that design, it's an operation just as I'm showing you here. In just a few seconds, we've customized that template for your virtual data center so you can have your cloud your way. What's unique about what HP has done with VMware is provide one console that lets you manage not just an element of your infrastructure, but your network, your server, and your storage resources, all from one console. What this means is that your cloud administrator has one view in which to manage their entire cloud and cloud infrastructure. And also for the CIOs in the audience, the automation is going to mean that your data center infrastructure is managed very reliably, very consistently, and it's going to help you with compliance and audit. Come to the HP booth. I can show you this in more detail, answer any questions that you have, and I'd like to thank you in advance for your support for Red Cross. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice to see the combination of HP Cloud System and vCloud Director coming together there. So why don't we tee up the question that you have for the audience? Which of the following is the most important task you'd like to see automated with HP solutions? Infrastructure lifecycle, availability, security, or hybrid cloud management? You have bated breath, I can tell.
I know. We'll see what the audience says.
Coming in. Looks like hybrid cloud management.
Oh.
Is that what you expected?
You know, that's actually different than last time, but that's actually incredibly interesting. Hybrid cloud management is actually a piece that we're working on now, and we can also talk to you about it at our booth. Very good.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Nigel. Okay, last but not least, we have Dell presenting. Let's start with a video, please.
I got to figure this out. I want to focus on innovation, but my data is doubling. Servers are maxed out. I need to think about something else when I run.
With Dell's virtualization and enterprise solutions, Doug can shift 50% of his company's IT spend from operating costs to innovation. So his company runs better, and so does Doug. Dell, the power to do more.
Please join me in welcoming Drew Engstrom, Director of Strategy for Enterprise Solutions.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, Drew.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you again. I've been working with Drew for many, many years now. What was your first VMworld?
Oh boy, this was VMworld San Diego 2004, so I was your friend even before you were famous.
No, thanks very much. And what are you going to demo for us today?
We're going to show an end-to-end deployment that's really optimized not just to bring innovation, but to bring innovation to customers who are vCenter administrators into an environment that they can use right out of the box.
Okay, and what charity is Dell playing for?
We are playing for IGR. IGR is a hospital in France that specializes in treating children with cancer and children from across Europe. And Dell has a unique partnership with IGR where we provide digital classroom technology into the hospital so children can communicate with their friends and keep up with their studies.
Okay, sounds good. And good luck with your demo.
Right. 3 nights ago, I got to see FC Barcelona play Real Madrid. And what makes these two football teams great is that they don't play as individuals, they play as a seamlessly integrated unit. And today, with the help of a Dell vStart 1000, I'd like to show you how IT infrastructure can work together as a seamlessly integrated unit to deliver results that are optimized, not around the infrastructure, but around people in the way they work. The vStart 1000 is a pre-engineered solution from Dell that includes Dell servers, Dell storage, Dell networking, and Dell management software that ships as a virtual appliance integrated directly with vCenter. Now, it's nice to look at beautiful pictures of shiny bezels, but what matters most for IT teams under pressure to deliver services is the design of the management experience. So let's take a look at the way Dell integrates infrastructure management directly with VMware. Now, some of the seamlessly integrated capabilities you'll see here include things you would expect, like inventory, alerting, and status. But there's also unique capabilities such as phone home support service, warranty status and renewal, and firmware updates. In this case, you're seeing a vCenter administrator update a server's firmware. Now, when a new server gets added to a vStart environment, it automatically shows up in vCenter ready for provisioning. And here we see the administrator choosing a deployment template to automate this process. Our own internal benchmark showed that we were able to reduce the number of steps in this process from 90 to around 12. And as we switch here from a server to a storage context, the same design principles hold true. What we're seeing here is how fast and simple it is to add a new data store into the environment directly from vCenter. While we're watching this, I'd like to point out that it is not Dell's design philosophy to turn every vCenter user into a hardware administrator. Rather, our goal is to present the vCenter operator with only the information management capabilities he or she needs to accomplish common and repetitive tasks efficiently and in a way that makes sense with the context in vCenter. This kind of end-to-end efficiency is critical when it comes to supporting workloads like virtual desktops. One of the reference architectures a Dell vStart 1000 is optimized for is an end-to-end deployment of VMware View. Now, desktop virtualization presents some unique performance challenges, especially in the area of I/O management. This architecture leverages client-side caching with Dell Weiss devices, as well as Dell's fluid data architecture to dynamically tier the storage based on your usage. Simply put, with this architecture, you can support more high-performance desktops for the same amount of storage capacity. As far as the client device itself, this solution is leveraging a brand new Dell Weiss P25 Zero client. The P25 was engineered from the ground up to support VMware View, and the P25 is a PC over IP client that delivers uncompromising graphics support, including support for multiple monitors. Now, no matter how effective your infrastructure is, things can go wrong, which is why this entire solution is protected by Dell AppShift for business continuity. In this brief example, we're going to delete an entire drive, and then using AppShift's live recovery capability, we will get near immediate reuse of the server directly from the backup file. This significantly reduces recovery time objectives for the business across physical, virtual, as well as cloud-hosted data stores. As I wrap up here, I encourage you to visit Dell's booth in the Expo and learn more about how our seamless integration with VMware can benefit your organization. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Quite a nice set of integrations and demos. So let's pose the last polling question for the audience. Let's see what we got here. Over the next 3 years, how do you plan to manage your hardware infrastructure for your VMware environment? Primarily from vCenter, converged hardware management tool, or your existing element management tools? What do you think the answer is?
Wow.
I
think vCenter probably about 57 or 58%.
Okay. Sounds very good, and thank you for your demo.
All right, thank you for your time, Steve.
Okay. So thanks. That was a very quick look at 5 great partners, 5 great demonstrations, and also 5 great charities. So now this is really the important part of the morning, which is for you all to vote for your favorite demo. And I'll just recap here quickly. We had EMC. Chad presented a number of interesting integrations around VVol and was playing for the Down Syndrome Foundation in Madrid. Next, we had Rob and Jimmy Ray at Cisco. They were telling us about Lisp and how it really focuses on mobility. They were playing for the World Food Program. Our third presenter at NetApp was Brandon. He showed us a variety of different integrations and showed how we can use command lines as well as some great dedupe. And NetApp was playing for Right to Play. Nigel from HP was up next, playing for the Red Cross. He showed how we could do automation of the infrastructure lifecycle, also showed some integrations between Cloud System and vCloud Director. And then last was Drew at Dell, showing a variety of different integrations across the board. And they were playing for IGR, a hospital in France. So we're going to have the votes come in. Make your final votes. Oh, there we go. We have today's winner is EMC. Great demonstration and a great function and charity that we're able to donate to. And I do want to thank all the partners. This is very hard to do. And if you've never had to be constrained to 4 minutes to talk about what you're doing, that also is very hard. So as a sign of appreciation, VMware is actually going to make a donation to each of the charities mentioned today. So with that, I want to thank you again for coming to the general sessions and invite you to a number of the breakouts after this. And also as a reminder, we have a great party that'll be right in here at 8 o'clock tonight. So I'll see you there and have a great VMworld.